said this to the folks that have been logged in already, but for the folks that are just coming on, just a reminder to have your yoga mat set up, a block or two if you've got them. If you don't have yoga blocks, that's okay. You can use a pillow or a sturdy water bottle, anything to give you a little bit of height when you're doing some of the stretches if you need it. And also putting on whatever music you like. I've just got some calm kind of yoga music, but you can put on whatever you prefer to have, and just mute your mic so I won't be able to hear you or the music, and vice versa. You shouldn't be able to hear my music, but you should be able to hear me, so I won't mute my mic. You guys can't hear this music, is that correct? Good, that's what I thought. Perfect. So, once everyone is set up with your yoga mat, we're gonna get started seated. And just a reminder for folks about this mindful movement, the goal is always to practice a little bit of that mindfulness, so being aware of what our body is doing at a given time without judging it or thinking too much of it other than just acknowledging it. And also doing a little bit of movement to increase some blood flow, stretch some of the muscles. And as always, if any of the movements don't feel comfortable for you, please modify them to whatever feels best for you. Or you can also just return to whatever a safe position would be for you. So it could be seated cross-legged like so. It could be a child's pose with your arms forward or your arms back. Or it could be laying down flat on your back like so. Whatever you need, if you're feeling like a certain stretch or position isn't comfortable for you, please feel free to modify. Once everyone is all set, we'll get started in a nice cross-legged position. You can gently place your hands on your knees. Whether you want to do palms up or palms down is completely up to you. Maybe you're choosing to go palms up to kind of take in a little bit more from the space around you, and maybe you're choosing to go palms down if you feel like you've got everything you need today and you're just wanting to keep it in. And then gently we'll close our eyes if you feel comfortable to do so. If not, you can always just look down gently. And we'll take a few moments just to slow things down and start to focus on our breathing. As we do so, we're trying to lengthen our inhale and lengthen the exhale even further. Take 2 more deep breaths here, nice and slow, feeling the air fill up the lungs and the belly. And then breathing it out slowly. And once you've done your 2 breaths, you can gently open your eyes. You can rest your hands beside you on the mat, and we'll start with some side bends here. As we inhale, we're going to reach one arm up to the ceiling, lengthening through the rib cage, through the spine. And as we exhale, we're going to reach over, taking a full breath here, and then coming back to center and switching sides. Inhale, we reach up, lengthen through the spine and the ribs. Exhale, reach over. Holding for a full breath. And then coming back to center. We'll do 3 on each side. And back to center. One last round each side. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend. And last one. And back in and down. Next, we'll use both hands to go for our first forward fold. So as we inhale, we're going to reach both arms up to the ceiling. As we exhale, we reach all the way forward, as far on the mat as comfortable. Letting your shoulders relax. If you need a block to help you in this position, if you can't quite get to the floor, you can always do that. Taking a few moments just to reconnect with the breath here. Slowly on your next breath, we're going to walk the hands back up. We're going to bring the feet out just past mat distance as far as comfortable. And we'll go for our next fold in this position. Same thing, as we inhale, we lengthen up, reaching the arms. And as we exhale, we reach forward. Hands either resting on the mat or on a block if you need it. Finding a position that feels comfortable. And noticing the stretch as you land here. And then slowly on your next breath in, we'll walk the hands back up. We're going to take one foot, bend it back into the center, leave the other extended. Turning our chest towards that extended leg, we're going to fold again. Inhale, sweeping the arms up, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, folding over. Hands resting either on the leg, on the mat, or again, you can use your block here if you need it. As always, we're reconnecting with our breath as we get into this hold. And slowly, we'll roll back up nice and tall, extending the other leg and swapping into the same fold on the opposite side. One leg comes in bent. We're turning our chest towards that straightened leg. On the inhale, we reach the arms up, extending through the spine. And on the exhale, we fold forward over that stretched leg. Just take a moment to notice how this stretch feels from one side to the other. Maybe you're noticing a little bit more intensity on one side, or maybe they're both the same. Either option is okay. Slowly, on your next breath, we'll roll back up to stand or to seat. We'll extend both of our legs straight out in front. And one last time, we're going to fold. Same thing, inhale as we sweep the arms up. And exhale as we fold over our outstretched legs. On your next breath, we'll slowly roll back up. Taking one foot, we're going to cross it over the other leg. And with our opposite hand, we're going to wrap that knee around, hug it in, either having both hands holding onto that leg or taking your free hand back behind you, if that feels like a doable stretch. Slowly we'll come out of that twist, uncross that leg, and we'll switch over into the opposite side. Foot crosses over the leg, taking our opposite hand, hugging that knee in closer towards the chest, and either interlocking hands here or taking that free hand back behind you for an added twist. Slowly again, we'll come out of that twist, uncross that leg, and we'll make our way to our tabletop position from here. So however you want to get there, we're going to end in this tabletop with hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. If you need to grab some water as we transition, please do so. Once we get into this tabletop, we're going to bring our knees out a little bit wider, toes kind of coming in towards each other. And we're going to stretch it back into our first child's pose, sitting our hips down towards the heels, letting our hands come forward, and head relaxes down. Taking a few moments to get comfortable with the breathing in this position. And on the next breath, we're going to look up between those thumbs, roll ourselves back up into the tabletop. If you have any wrist discomfort in this position, you can always drop it down into the forearms as we're doing the next few movements. Otherwise, you can stay here, and we're gonna go for a little back bend for the cat-cow sequence. So as we inhale, we're gonna let our head look up, let our belly drop down. And as we exhale, we're gonna puff up between the shoulders, tuck the chin and tuck the hips. Nice and slowly, we're going to do this for 5 rounds at your own pace with your own breath. Inhale, looking up, belly sinks down. Exhale, puffing the shoulders, tucking the hips, tucking the head. Wherever you are in your sequence, we'll go one more all together. And then we'll find our neutral position, back nice and flat in that tabletop. Next, we're gonna go for a little rotation here. Again, option to drop into the forearms if you ever need to. With the rotation, we're gonna take one hand up to the ceiling as we breathe in. And as we breathe out, we're gonna thread that arm between the space of our opposite hand and knees, letting our shoulders and our head gently rest down. If you can't quite get to the mat, you can always use a block underneath of your head or your shoulder to catch you wherever comfortable. Slowly on your next breath, you can come out of that twist. Plant your hand underneath of your shoulder or your elbow down. And we'll go for the same twist on the opposite side. Inhale as we reach one arm up to the ceiling. Exhale as we thread that arm between the space of our hand and shoulder and knees, resting our shoulder down to the mat, or a block if you need it. Noticing the difference from one side to the other here. And then slowly on your next breath, we'll come out of that twist. Plant your hand underneath of your shoulder or your forearm down underneath of your shoulder. And next we'll go for a little balance drill here. We're going to start with a big breath in and out as we engage through our abdominal muscles. We're going to hold the tension in our abdominal muscles as we, on our next breath, take one leg straight back behind. If that's feeling good and you want to challenge yourself, we're taking our opposite arm straight forward. Holding for a full breath, and then coming down and switching sides. Same thing on the forearms. We're taking that breath, extending a leg straight back, and then opposite arm comes forward. Full breath, hold, and then coming back in. We'll do 3 on each side, alternating left and right. Making sure as those legs are coming straight back behind you that the hips are staying straight to the floor, that we're not opening up the hips side to side. If you had a cup of water on your low back, it should stay full, shouldn't tip over as you're moving through the legs. Let's go one last one from wherever you are. And then from here, we're gonna find that tabletop, bring the knees a little bit wider, toes together. And we're gonna sit back into our child's pose, reaching our arms forward, hips back, letting the head relax. From here, we're gonna lift our head, lift the chest slightly. Just gonna move our hands towards the right side of the mat. And then from here, we're gonna sit the hips towards the opposite heel as we come back into that side reaching child's pose. Noticing the stretch through the side of the rib cage. And slowly we're going to lift the head, lift the chest, shift the hands towards the left side of the mat, and then we're going to sit our hips towards the opposite heel, so hips towards the right side, into the side reaching child's pose here. And then slowly we'll lift up the head and chest, hands come back to center, and we'll sit back into our child's pose one last time, just through the center. On our next breath, we're going to look between the space of our thumbs and roll ourselves back into that tabletop position. From here, we're going to take one foot and we're going to bring it out to the outside of one hand. Slowly making our way up to a tall kneeling position from here. If you need your block or something for a little balance, you can take it here. We're going to place our hands on our hips. Our back foot is nice and flat here. And from this position, keeping our chest tall, we're going to lean our hips forward. If you need something underneath of your knee, if this isn't comfortable, you can take a pillow, or you can bunch up your mat a couple of times. We're working on lengthening through this back hip flexor here, keeping that chest nice and tall. And then slowly, we're gonna come back to a neutral position, nice and stacked. I'll show you if you need the block for the next one. We're gonna take our front leg straight, heel down, toe up. And then again, keeping that chest nice and long, we're gonna hinge at the hips and lean our chest forward over that outstretched leg. If you need the block here, you can use the block to find that height. If your flexibility allows and you wanna go hand down in this hold, choose whatever feels the best. We're stretching through that hamstring of that outstretched leg. And then slowly, we're gonna come up with our chest, bend that knee in, and from here, we're gonna place our hands back down beside our foot where we started. Our inside hand that's closest to our foot, we're gonna go for a little rotation here with it. As we inhale, we're gonna take that inside hand, bring it up towards the ceiling, or if the shoulder's not loving this, you can place your hand on your hip and rotate through the chest. Slowly we'll come out of that twist. Hands are down on the mat. If you need a little height or the wrists aren't loving it, you can have fists down or have your hands up on blocks. From here, we're gonna go for a little bit of a wiggle with our leg to open up our hip. As we inhale, we're gonna let that front knee Open out to the side. And as we exhale, we'll bring it back in. Nice and slowly, we'll do this 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. Just gently letting that leg fall to the side and coming back in. One more time here from wherever you are, not forcing this position, just going where it feels doable. And once you've done your 5, you can keep the weight into those hands, bring that knee back underneath of your hip, and we'll stretch it back into that child's pose. Taking our hips down to the heels, arms reaching forward. If the shoulders ever need a break, you can always have your head down on the mat or on a block and have your hands beside you to the back. Next breath, we're going to look between those thumbs, roll up into that tabletop. We'll go for the same sequence on the opposite side. We're going to take our other foot, place it to the outside of our hands, slowly bringing our way up to that tall kneel. Hands will come onto our hips. I'm going to rotate here so everyone can see. Dropping that back foot, keeping those hands on the hips. We're gonna roll our hips forward. If you need a little bit more balance, you can reach that front foot, wiggle it a little bit further so you can stay stacked into that shin. Again, trying to feel that stretch through the front of the hip flexor. Here we'll slowly come back to neutral. We're taking that front leg straight, heel down, toes are pointing up, keeping our spine nice and long. We're going to lean our chest forward over that outstretched leg. Again, if you need the extra support, you can use something like a block to keep the balance. Or if you've got the flexibility to come down to the floor, you can do so. Feeling that stretch in the back of that hamstring. And then slowly, we'll bring the chest back up. Pull that heel in underneath of your knee, and we're gonna shift our weight back down to the floor. Again, if the wrists aren't comfortable here, you can go fists down or up on blocks. If the knee is not comfortable, you can always bunch up the mat. But again, we're gonna go for our twist, so that inside hand is gonna reach up as we inhale, rotate through the chest. Again, option to have that hand on the hip if the shoulder's not loving that rotation today. And then slowly we'll come out of that twist, planting the hand back down to the mat. And we'll go for the little hip opener here. As we inhale, we're gonna let that knee and that foot relax out to the side. And as we exhale, bring it back up. We'll do this 5 times again at your own pace with your own breath. Being slow and gentle here. Not forcing this movement past where it feels comfortable. Just honoring where those joints feel like they can go to today. And once you've done your 5, you can keep the weight into those arms. Bring that knee back underneath of you. And we'll stretch it back into that child's pose one last time. Hips reaching back, arms reaching forward, head resting down on the mat. Slowly we'll look up between those thumbs one more time. We're going to shift our weight forward and bring ourselves all the way down, chest to the mat. Our hands are going to be underneath of our shoulders in this position. We're going to take a breath in and get ready for a little bit of a back bend. And as we exhale, we're going to push into those hands, lift the chest, and either set the forearms down for a partial back bend here, or if you want a little bit more height, you can continue extending the arms all the way. We're taking 3 full breaths here in this position from wherever you are. 1 breath in the center, 1 breath turning your face towards a shoulder, and another breath face towards the other shoulder. Once you've done all 3, we can gently lower the chest back down. Place those hands underneath of your forehead. And from here, we're going to move through our hips, keeping our legs nice and straight. We're going to squeeze through one hip as we lift one leg just a few inches off the floor, holding for a full breath, and then lowering down and switching sides. Inhale, exhale, lift that leg to hover above the mat, and then lower. We'll do 3 on each side, alternating left and right. Feeling that little squeeze in the back of our glute as we lift that leg. We'll go 1 more each side. And then from here, you can rest your legs down on the mat. We're going to bend our knees from this position, either reaching your heel back towards a hip and just letting your leg fall wherever it comfortably wants to land. Or if you've got the flexibility and you want a deeper stretch, you can reach a hand back, hook that foot and pull it in a little bit closer to your hips. Whatever variation feels the best for you today. And then slowly, you can release that leg down, and we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. Letting our knee fall towards our hip, or heel towards the hip, I should say. And either staying here or going for a little bit of a deeper stretch if your flexibility allows for it. Again, not forcing these positions, just letting our body do what feels most comfortable. And then slowly we'll release that leg down. And from here we'll slowly make ourselves come onto our backs on the mat, rolling onto your back with your knees bent and your feet flat. Hands can start on the belly or to the sides of your hips. And we'll take a few moments just to get comfortable in this position and recenter with our breathing. From this position, we're going to move our hands to the sides of our hips if they're not already there, palms down on the mat. We're going to work on some bridging here. As we inhale, we're going to get ready to lift those hips. And as we exhale, we're going to squeeze through our glutes like we're pinching a penny between our bum, lifting the hips up to the sky. Holding for a full breath here, and then slowly inching back down, letting our back lower one piece at a time, from the upper back to the middle, and then the low back and tailbone. We'll do this 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. Inhale, exhale to lift. Full breath at the top, and then lowering one vertebrae at a time. Wherever you are, we're going to do one more. Holding that top position for our breath before lowering slowly all the way down. Once you get back down to the mat, we're going to take one ankle, cross it over the other knee. If this is feeling like a good enough stretch, we're just going to hold here in this position. If you want a little bit of a deeper stretch, we can push that crossed knee further forward with our hand. Or if you want an even deeper stretch, we can take our hands behind the foot that's on the ground or behind the thigh and pull it up closer to our chest. Taking a few moments here. then slowly, if you had one leg elevated, you can bring it down to the mat. Keep that cross with your ankle over your knee, and we'll bring our hands out a little bit wider apart on the mat. From here, we're gonna keep that cross as we drop our legs towards one side of the mat, rotating through the low back and the pelvis as we do so. If you can't quite get to the floor with the legs, you can use a block to catch yourself wherever you're landing. Trying to keep your shoulders nice and flat. And then slowly we'll windmill back through center. And keeping that cross, we're gonna drop the legs to the opposite side of the mat. Again, keeping the shoulders down, noticing the stretch through the rib cage, side of the hips. And just taking a moment to notice how this side feels compared to the last rotation. Maybe one felt a little bit more intuitive than the other, and that's okay. Or maybe they both feel the same, and that's fine too. And slowly, we're gonna come back through center. Take your hands and interlace your fingers behind that crossed leg and uncross your ankle. And from here, we're gonna straighten and bend our knee in time with our breath. As we inhale, we're gonna straighten the knee up. And as we exhale, we relax it down. 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. If this is feeling really tight, give yourself a little bit more slack in how far you're hugging that leg in. It's okay if the knee doesn't come completely straight. Just go wherever it feels comfortable. And once you've done your 5, you can keep that leg up, pointing to the ceiling. Then we'll do the same thing with our ankle. As we inhale, we're gonna flex our foot, toes towards the nose. And as we exhale, we're gonna point toes to the ceiling. Again, 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. And once you've done your 5, you can relax the ankle, relax the knee, and hug your leg in towards your chest. If your hips are feeling pinchy as you're hugging your knee in, you can let your leg drop out to the side slightly and see if that feels a bit better. And then slowly we'll let our leg relax. Straighten it out on the mat and give it a little wiggle. And then we'll make our way through the same sequence on the opposite side. Whenever you're ready, we're going to start by crossing your other ankle, whichever one you didn't work on last time, over the other knee. Again, couple options here, either staying in this position if that feels like a good stretch, taking our hand and pushing that crossed knee away, or taking both hands behind the planted thigh and pulling up closer towards the chest. Slowly from here, if you had one foot elevated, you can bring it down to the mat. Keep that cross with your ankle on the knee and bring your hands out a little wider on the mat. And from here, we're gonna gently drop our legs towards one side of the mat, rotating through our low back and the pelvis. Again, trying to keep those shoulders nice and flat on the mat. If you need a block to catch you, if you're not quite getting to the floor, that's okay. Slowly from here, we're going to come through center with our legs, and then slowly keeping that cross and dropping the legs to the opposite side of the mat. Again, not forcing this rotation to a point that feels uncomfortable, just allowing your body to naturally go where it wants to. Again, noticing the difference here from one side to the other. And now even one leg compared to the other. And slowly from here, we'll come back through center. Take your hands and interlace the fingers behind that crossed thigh and uncross your ankle. And again, we'll slowly straighten and bend our knee in time with our breath. As we inhale, we straighten that knee up. And as we exhale, we let it relax down. 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. And once you've done your 5, you can leave that leg straightened up. We'll do the same with our ankle. As we inhale, we're going to flex our ankle, toes towards the nose. Exhale, point toes to the ceiling. Again, 5 times at your own pace with your own breath. Inhale, flex. Exhale, point. Once you've done your 5, you can relax your ankle, relax the knee, hug your leg in towards your chest. Again, if the hips aren't feeling comfortable here, you can drop the leg out to the side slightly and see if that feels any better. And slowly we'll let our leg relax straight out on the mat. Give it a little wiggle. And we're going to transition into our final resting position on the mat. As they say in yoga, the Shavasana. Your options here are either to have the legs straight out in front with your hands on your belly or hands beside you on the mat. Or if that's not too comfortable, you can keep your knees bent, having them mat distance apart and having the knees fall inward on each other. Whatever feels best for you to settle into some stillness for the next few moments and reconnect with your breath. We've done all the movements. Now we just get to be. Notice your thoughts tend to wander as you rest here. Just notice where they tend to go to and let them pass. And gently try to bring your attention back to yourself in the present moment. Staying exactly as you are, I'll invite you to finish today's session with some progressive muscle relaxation, as we typically do. If you'd rather just continue resting quietly, you can always continue to do so without doing the muscle relaxation technique. But if you want to join, you can have your hands at your sides on the floor or on the mat. Your legs are going to be out long, and we're going to work on tensing and relaxing all of our different muscle groups, using our breath to help us. We're going to work from our feet all the way up towards our head, starting down with the toes. We're going to curl our toes into the center of our foot as tightly as you can, holding that squeeze in, feeling that tension across the foot and the muscles in our toes. And with your exhale, let it go. Let your toes uncurl, wiggle them freely. Next, we'll move down into our calves. We're going to flex our calves by pointing our feet down away from you as far as possible, holding that squeeze in the back of the calves as tightly as comfortable. And with your exhale, let it go. Let your feet relax and notice how they drop to the side slightly with that relaxation. Next, we'll come up into the thighs. We're
We're going to flex the front of our thighs by pushing our knees down into the mat as firmly as you can to create that tension across our thigh muscles, our quadriceps. Holding that squeeze as best as you can, feeling that tension. And with your exhale, let it go. Letting your legs fall heavy to the sides as you let the muscles relax. Next, we'll move up into the hips. We're going to squeeze our hip muscles like we're pinching that penny between our bum. Holding that tension, noticing that little lift that happens on the mat when we do so. Holding on to that squeeze as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it go. Noticing the heaviness as your hips sink a little bit deeper into the mat. Next, we'll go into our torso. We're going to flex our abdominal muscles by pulling our belly button in towards the spine, creating that tension in the abdomen and holding those muscles tense as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it go. Let that belly soften and notice how it might expand a bit easier as you take in your next breath. Next, we'll move up into our shoulders. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades together on the mat, creating tension across the upper back, the shoulder blades, noticing the little puff of the chest as we squeeze the shoulder blades together here on the mat. Holding that tension as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it go. Noticing that heaviness once again as our chest sinks down towards the mat with the relaxation. We'll move into the back of our arms. We're going to tense the back of our arms by pushing our elbows down into the floor as firmly as you can, creating that tension in the back of our upper arms and holding here as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it go. Letting your arms fall heavy. Next, we'll move down into our hands. We're going to curl our hands in, balling them up to make a fist, and tightening those fingers in that fist as much as you can. Holding that tension, feeling that stretch in the fingers, in the palms, in the back of the hands and the forearms. Holding that fist in as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it go. Let your fingers uncurl. And let them fall towards the mat gently. And lastly, we're going to tense through our face. We're going to furrow our eyebrows in to the center of our face, creating that tension across our forehead, holding that as best as you can, feeling that squeeze between the eyebrows as you hold those muscles tight. With your exhale, let it go. Noticing the softness in the face as our eyebrows relax and the space it creates. And finally, we're going to find that tension one last time all over the body. At the same time, we're going to curl in the toes, point the feet, flex our thighs, our hips, draw a belly button in, squeeze the shoulder blades, push the arms down, make those fists and furrow those brows, creating that tension across the entire body as best as you can. And with your exhale, let it all go. Noticing the heaviness that comes with the relaxation as our body sinks deeper into the mat underneath, and how different that heaviness feels compared to all the tension that we just created. And we'll use that feeling to sink into a little bit of further relaxation and stillness for the next couple moments. Coming back to the breath once again. Whenever you're ready to find some movement out of this position, you can start by wiggling out your fingers, wiggling out the toes, and then starting to draw some circles with the wrists and with the ankles. Eventually, we're going to reach our arms up overhead, stretching them back like you're pressing your hands against a wall behind you. And then we'll bend the knees, bringing our heels down onto the mat, and make our way into a side lying position. And if you need to stay here for a moment, you can always do that. But then we'll use our hands and our elbows to press up into a seated position where we started. Thank you guys as always.